Hey, Brent Porcio, TopVelocity.net. I wanted to talk about hip extension, big component to not just pitching velocity, but arm health. Hip extension is when you pull the knee behind the back. If you're in a, on laying down in a prone position, lifting it up off the table without allowing the hips to get into that anterior tilt. So the average public is probably going to have somewhere around 10 degrees. Basically, we'll pull it back 10 degrees. Pitching, landing in a full stride and getting optimal hip rotation is going to be pulling it somewhere into 35, maybe 40 degrees. And studies show pitchers that can get more hip rotation in front foot strike, not only do they have more ball velocity, but ultimately if they can delay their trunk with it, which there's other aspects of mobility there, it's going to create better use of the kinetic chain. We have a study showing that those that don't have good hip extension get into what's called lordosis, where they're in an anterior pelvic tilt like this. And what happens is it thrusts the trunk out early and then the arm gets caught dragging. So if you're someone who doesn't have a lot of hip extension, when you hit front foot strike, your hips are now late. You could be, if you have a lot of momentum, in that lordosis posture, which is thrusting your trunk out early. And if you're trying to delay your arm, you're dragging your arm or pushing your arm. So you really need to first make sure what your hip extension is. And a good way of measuring it is in a prone position laying down, seeing how far it can pull back and trying to get it to 35 degrees, using a goni, using something like this, okay? You can also use huddle technique or coach's eye, an app that allow you to film it and then measure the angle difference. You can also get into full stride, keeping your hips open and trying to see how far it'll go back in that loaded position as well. And if you're limited, you do need to do things that work on hip extension. Now, that's posture. So you need to work on posture, you need to work on glute and core strength and stability to help give that joint better foundation or support to mobilize into more hip extension. But like I said, it's not something that most people have a lot of. Therefore, it's probably why most people have arm injuries. And I just want to talk about in this video because it's a key component that we use in our training, in our evaluations, in our mobility work to improve, to keep guys not just throwing harder because now they get more hip power, but staying healthy so their arm doesn't get caught dragging due to the poor sequencing from the issues in the hip.